Welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm a teacher and author, and this is English Nerd. So today I'm going to talk about another poem, doing some analysis, really digging into the words of Dylan Thomas's famous poem. It's actually a villanelle called "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." It is an intense, pretty sad poem, but I think it's really beautifully put together. So I'm going to go through it, and hopefully you get something out of this if you're encountering it for the first time, or something more out of it if you've encountered it lots of times before. All right, here is "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." So let's just jump right into it. The title itself is repeated as a refrain many times in many different ways throughout this poem. I mentioned at the top that this is a villanelle, and I'm not going to claim that I am an expert in poetic forms except for Shakespearean sonnets. Those I know very, very well. Villanelles, I know, are 19 lines. They have a few refrains that are repeated throughout the poem. There's a sense almost of obsession with the level of repetition that we get with this type of poem, but that is about as far as I'm going to get into the meter and things like that. "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night" is a central metaphor that is developed in this poem. The good night is death. Do not go gentle into that good night. This is a plea from Dylan Thomas to his father that he was struggling to see in his final moments. So, like I said, this is a very dark poem. But let's look at the way that it's put together and dig into this language. "Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." Rage, rage against the dying of the light is our second refrain that we get several times throughout this poem. And even within it, there is the repetition of rage, almost Iliad-like. It begins with rage. There might be some more connections to the Iliad going through, so we'll keep our eyes open for that. The idea is you should not accept that this is happening. Dylan Thomas, as a modern poet, had a pretty grim view of life and death, and it's clearly reflected here in this, again, very dark poem. So old age should burn and rave at close of day. There shouldn't be this acceptance, this even peace. There should be this fight for those last additional moments of life. "Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night." So we start to get this series of men. It is all men, which is a product of the times that Thomas was a part of in the first half of the 1900s, which sounds weird to say. I was born then. But the wise men. So he starts with wise men who know that there should be some peace, some stoicism, perhaps some religious hope. It's unclear, but those who are the ones that can normally take these great difficulties in stride, perhaps the darkness of the day of life ending and death taking its place, is right in some ways. But because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. So we get this contrast between people knowing that it's right, that it's natural, but because the wise men had not changed all the world with their words had forked no lightning. There's no power coming out of the words that they've spoken. Even they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men are second category, unless you count the old age at the beginning, but it's not phrased the same way. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. So here it seems like it's just rage is being used as a normal indicative kind of verb instead of a command like we get up here. So it's saying that good men rage against the dying of the light. Just like wise men did not go gentle, good men rage. The last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. We have some light imagery here, more metaphorical than concrete, but crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. So in a better world, maybe they could have led these happier lives, but now here comes the last wave, and it's unclear whether by wave he means wave as in you're waving goodbye to someone, or wave as in like a tide coming in. It can definitely mean both, but good men are upset that there wasn't more joy. Wild men, that's our third category, who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late. They grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. So with these three stanzas here, not the first one, but the next three, do not go gentle and rage, rage, those are being used in the indicative, not in the command. So these are examples. Wise men do not go gentle, good men rage, wild men do not go gentle into that good night, because they all didn't quite accomplish exactly the life that they wanted to, or the influence that they wanted to have. There's something that's left undone. For the wise men, it's their wise words that they wanted to be more powerful, accepted as more powerful. For the good men, there's this joy, then this strength that they really wanted to have, and yet they didn't. For wild men, who caught and sang the sun in flight, we get very fanciful language there, but they're doing these wild, beautiful things and realizing that they grieved it on its way. So it referring back to the sun. It's unclear exactly what Dylan Thomas is referring to here, but it seems like generally these are people who really grabbed life by the horns but didn't consider the damage that their actions could cause other people when they were being reckless, when they were being wild and really, going for whatever it was that they wanted. And so they learned too late that they grieved it on its way, and even they do not go gentle into that good night, because once again, something is left undone, incomplete, not the way they wanted it to be. And then finally, grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay, rage, rage against the dying light. So grave just means somber, but there could be a hint of that Hamlet-y double meaning with grave, and grave, right? So grave men near death, who see with blinding sight that blind eyes could blaze. We have an oxymoronic set of words here. We have blinding sight. This is an oxymoron here. They see with blinding sight, two opposites that are right next to each other, that blind eyes could blaze. So this is like they understand suddenly, blindingly, kind of like you see the sun and immediately you're blinded, kind of like in Plato's Republic, the allegory of the cave. When you first see the truth, it's blinding, it's disorienting. So they see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. So again, it's a fairly it's a line that can be interpreted in a variety of different ways. Like a lot of these can be, I think, intentionally, because you can find yourself in one or more of these categories. You wanted to be this way, you wanted life to be this way, and then it didn't quite live up to those expectations, or you weren't able to complete everything. So here it seems to me that those who are more negative, more somber see near death, that even those who have difficulties and disabilities and things of that kind can still live these good lives, and yet they spent their time not embracing those things. So grave men rage against the dying of the light. And then we come to the end. Much like a Shakespearean sonnet, there is a conclusion, a narrowing of focus really here at the end. And you, my father. So now it gets really, really personal. It's not just these different types of people. It's not this general admonition to the readers or anything. It is to his father. So, and you, my father, there on the sad height. So here he is, right at the brink of crossing over. Curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. So we have a paradox. I would call this more a paradox, these two seemingly contradictory ideas that really form this greater truth. How could you be cursed and blessed with these fierce tears? It seems to me like, yes, that you'd be cursed but with this sight because of the pain of it, but you'd be blessed with this sight because there was that fight for more life. There wasn't a surrender to the darkness. Instead, there was an affirmation of life itself and the potential within it. So painful, yes, but good also. Yes, so curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. We get both of those refrains stacked one on top of the other here at the end, and it has a pretty sobering effect, I think, on the reader, that we're left with lines that we've heard now lots of times, but now they're stacked one on top of the other. We have this rhyme that really makes the two of them right next to each other extra punchy. So yeah, it's a sad poem, but Dylan Thomas really gets across his grief, his anger, and just the ways that he's upset that life doesn't always deliver what you expect it to deliver, no matter what category you fall into. So fight for that additional life. Try to have these revelations earlier on. At least that's what I take away. So there you go. I want to know what you think about this poem. Put the ideas you have down in the comments below. As always, with all of these poetry analyses that I do, make sure that you're doing your own work as well. Don't just take my ideas if you are going to write an essay or something like that. Do your own investigation, your own analysis. Make sure to like this video if you like it, and follow, subscribe to English Nerd for more English nerdy goodness, literature, writing, all that good stuff. So until next week.